Hey guys, it's JP here with Krawler. The most and largest debated subject matter on every social board or every forum today is Krawler versus metal cloak versus Krawler. We're going to do a deep dive into the most popular products by each company. You know, both companies are great companies, have excellent customer service, very well respected in the industry. But there's a lot of differences that we feel you need to know and or have transparency about when it comes to choosing the right product for you. Now, when it comes to Krawler Metal Cloak, obviously Metal Cloak's most popular kit is the Game Changer. With Krawler, we have tons and tons of options. We've got Adventure X, we've got X Factor, we got X Factor Pro, we have all kinds of stuff. But when it comes to comparing apples to apples, the closest systems that we can provide is our Adventure X mid-arm to the Metal Cloak Game Changer. All have service-free high misalignment control arm joints. Now, we're not going to go into details on the control arm joints. If you actually want to see a direct comparison, you can find it on our YouTube channel in the semi-spherical joint comparison, where we compare a lot of different joints in this new category that we again call semi-spherical joints. Joints that have spherical properties to a degree, but are not true spherical joints. And again, we're going to be comparing the Adventure X to the Metal Cloak Game Changer. Both offer roughly the same misalignment capabilities, but the difference in construction when you actually look at the details becomes very evident. You know, X Factor, to be honest with you, is not even on the table for this. You know, these have roughly 64, 70 degrees of misalignment. X Factor is in the 95 degrees category. X Factor Pro and above is 120. Again, not what this is in for comparison. And honestly, these are two of the most popular consumer products in the market. With these products, we're not really going to be talking about things that are subjective, like ride quality, things of that nature. We're going to be doing deep dives into strength of materials, layouts of the products, the corrective nature for suspension geometry, things that are very important that you need to know when it comes to making the most educated decision you can about one of the most expensive build categories for your vehicle. Now, coils are the heart and soul of performance and ride quality for all suspension systems. Obviously, pairing them with good shocks is important, but the coils is where you start. Metal Cloak and Krawler are on the forefront of coil technology when it comes to Jeep applications. With the Metal Cloak coil, you have dual rate springs and a bunch of tight windings at the top that typically ride collapsed and dead, so they're not functional in your vehicle. Then you have a linear spring below. At Krawler, we have a triple rate spring in the front for all JL, JT, and JK applications. You have your tight windings that run dead. Then you have your typical ride zone, and then you get into a third rate to help stabilize the vehicle. Both companies do a great job on what I feel is a great job on corrective actions on the front coils. Metal Cloak provides you with an upper isolator and a lower isolator, very similar to what we've been offering for the JL and JT applications since they came out. We also offer, obviously, the lower isolator and a top isolator. These are designed to minimize spring bow. Minimizing spring bow makes your springs much more effective in doing their job in the vehicle. Now, you know, at Krawler, we also get very, very specific with springs. Again, talking JL and JT applications. Every coil we offer is specifically tuned for the powertrain that's in that vehicle. We know with Metal Cloak, you know, this is their standard JL gas application for the 20T36, but when it comes to the 392 application, they actually revert you back to a JK coil for their application. 4XE, we are not sure, so that's just something to consider. In the rear, again, Metal Cloak's running their tried and true dual rates. They function similar to their fronts. And in the rear, obviously, we are running a triple rated coil, again, functioning very similar to the fronts. One of the things we noticed when we got these kits and we unboxed them is Metal Cloak uses the same part numbers for both front coils and both rear coils, meaning there's no side-to-side or vehicle lean correction. And again, this is speaking JL specific. With Krawler, we use the same coils side to side, but we provide coil spring correction seats for the rear lowers as well. This also makes the springs stand up straighter, so they are going to accept load properly, but there's various thicknesses to these to account for, again, some different powertrain options and also vehicle lean. Again, this is one of the big details that is a major difference between the companies and how we do corrective actions for coil springs. We are not going to touch on subjective matters like ride quality out of these coils. We're going to leave that up to you folks because that is not what this is about. So the next most important component in your vehicle is your track bars. We're going to cover that, but one of the things that, and this is where we start to diverge a little bit in our base corrections in these two systems. At Krawler, we give you the front track bar and a raised rear track bar bracket. At Metal Cloak, and I will apologize to Metal Cloak because we've misplaced their rear track bar, they give you a front and rear track bar. For the life of me, I don't understand why they did that, but this rear track bar bracket is very important. It raises the rear roll center of the vehicle and also recenters the axle. That raising of the rear roll center helps a tremendous amount in handling. And on the JLs and the JTs, for some reason, Metal Cloak didn't do this. They provided you just with a rear bar. So, but they do sell as an option the raised rear track bar bracket. It's just not base in their system. At Krawler, we sell the optional rear track bar because we felt ride quality and handling was the paramount for the starters of all of our systems. Now, there are some differences in construction as well. Again, the joints, we're going to let you guys, we'll brief over them. Metal Cloak's got their rubber joints on each end of their track bar. We've got an anti-wobble joint and a custom Heim joint from FK. Hey, FK family, we love you guys. Great folks. Obviously, best rod ends in the industry. And again, I apologize, but that is the same construction with the rear track bar. Metal Cloak's front track bar is made from 1.25" solid alloy steel and formed nicely as it is, down to a 7/8 shank joint at the axle connection. The Krawler track bar is 1.5" solid alloy steel down to a 1" shank rod end at the axle connection. Obviously, the 1.5" is going to be much stronger. This is a very critical component. If it bends or fails, you lose all steering in your vehicle. Our rear track bars are very similar to Metal Cloak's. They are also 1.25" down to a 7/8 shank joint. One of the other very noticeable differences is the Metal Cloak track bar is just a welded end onto the bar. At Krawler, we also weld on a gusset to further spread the load due to all of our history in Ultra 4 racing and everything else that we've done that's on the extreme levels. And knowing the importance of these components for failure, we distribute the load as much as possible and make them as strong as possible. The next most important component in your vehicle that takes a large amount of stress is your lower control arms. And again, between Krawler and Metal Cloak, you'll see quite a bit of differences here. The Krawler lower control arms have a high clearance feature, both front and rear. Metal Cloak's lower control arm does not offer any high clearance in the front, but it does offer tire clearance for turning, so customers can actually run stock wheel back spacing. And in the rear, again, just a straight lower, no high clearance feature at all. Now at Krawler, I can tell you why, since I've helped design a lot of these products. We do not offer the tire clearance. As you're putting your vehicle taller and its center of gravity going higher, we do not want you building a roller skate, keeping your tires underneath. We want you properly proportioning your vehicle's stance for overall handling and off-road stability. And again, this is just one of the variations and or differences between the two companies. Krawler's lower control arms are made of 1 3/4 solid alloy steel and machined and formed. Both have very heavy duty ends for their joints. Metal Cloaks is 1 5/8 OD 1/4 inch wall tubing. Where this actually becomes important is the cross sections where they are threaded. On the Metal Cloaks at the root diameter, you are down to 3/16 of material. So you go from 1 5/8 down to 1 1/4 thread, and you get a pretty noticeable stress riser right in this area where the machining ends. At Krawler, you go from 1 3/4 down to 5/16 at the root diameter, giving you a lesser amount of stress concentration at the critical juncture. Both joints are all 1 1/4 shanks, very heavy duty housings, good quality components. Metal Cloak and Krawler apply either never sees or grease to the joints to help minimize corrosion, so the consumer doesn't have to worry about it when they're initially setting up their vehicle and the joints rusting in place. But again, there are major differences in the structure and construction of both the lower control arm joints from Krawler and Metal Cloak. Upper control arms do not see the loading conditions that your typical lower control arms and track bars see, but they are also vital components into a sturdy suspension system. We'll go over Metal Cloaks first. As you can see, their front upper is bent for frame clearance, which is much needed on the JL and JT applications to support up travel. The front upper control arm is 1 1/4 thin walled tubing with a 3/16 wall thickness, machined down to an 1/8 inch wall thickness at the root diameter. Their rear upper control arm, as you can see, is bent for tire clearance. Again, same methodology as they are using with their front lowers. Their rear upper control arms are 1 1/2 OD thin walled tubing, 3/16 wall thickness, machined down to an 1/8 inch wall thickness at the root diameter. Their rear upper joint is an 1 1/4 shank. Their front upper joint is a 1 inch shank joint. The clevis fork is a 1/4 inch in thickness. All in all, solid products. At Krawler, our rear upper control arm is straight. No bends at all. This follows suit with the high clearance feature without the tire clearance feature with our front lowers. Again, we don't want you building a roller skate, lifting your vehicle up and keeping the tires in. We want you lifting the vehicle up and setting the stance of the vehicle for on-road and off-road stability. Both front and rear uppers from Krawler use 7/8 shank joints, are 1 1/4 thickness, or in outside diameter, I apologize, machined down to a root diameter of 3/16. Again, just variations in how we do things, why we do things, but we do have a similarity. Our front upper is also bent for frame clearance, again needed for JL and JT up travel. One of the other differences is we put the adjuster at the axle connection where Metal Cloak keeps it at the frame connection. Again, on that one, it's kind of potatoes. We feel it's easier to get to the jam nut over the front axle than it is trying to reach up through the exhaust to get proper torque on that jam nut, where they keep it at the frame connection. So this is all the differences in the construction in the upper control arms between Krawler and Metal Cloak for JL. Very similar in JK and in JT applications. So sway bar links, sway bar disconnects, and sway bar corrections. Again, you're going to see a lot of differences here. Metal Cloak has some offerings that we do not offer. We do some things that Metal Cloak doesn't really offer as well. In this base game changer kit that we got from Metal Cloak, it comes with a sway bar relocation bracket for the rear sway bar. Again, designed around the premise so you can run stock tire and wheel offsets for your vehicle. At Krawler, we only offer you in-vehicle adjustable rear sway bar links that have spherical joints on both ends to take up the misalignment. Again, this comes to the difference in theory of we're going to make your vehicle taller. We also want your stance to improve for on-road and off-road stability. We do not even offer the fact that you can put a stock wheel and tire combination on the vehicle. Now, the front sway bar disconnects. Again, you're going to see some differences here. With the Metal Cloak, they offer a relocation bracket for the passenger side sway bar disconnect, and then your sway bar disconnect links. You'll notice that the passenger side is significantly shorter than a driver's side, so they're operating through two different radiuses of curvature. They offer a simple bracket that locates on the chassis to link up the sway bar and hold the sway bar link and sway bar up after you pull the pin. At Krawler, we keep them exactly the same length side to side. We use a coupling nut on the passenger side and make it so it's a double disconnect so you can pull the top and bottom pin and remove the entire sway bar link itself from the vehicle. We provide you bolt-in straps that function very similar to a chin strap on a helmet to simply hold the sway bar up out of the way. For Rubicon, JL, and JT applications, we offer high misalignment billet no limits links. Not shown here, we do know that on Metal Cloak's website, they do offer a high misalignment sway bar link assembly for the front as well for Rubicon specific applications. A couple of the other differences with the front sway bar disconnects from Krawler and Metal Cloak, you'll notice that Krawlers are serviceable and they all have a spherical ball in there, making it easier to line up and get on and off the vehicle. Metal Cloaks has a straight wall bushing at the bottom, so there's no misalignment capabilities, with a seal joint at the top. Again, this is up to you as the consumer. You have the power of choice. You can choose serviceability or no service. Well, we're coming down to the end. Bump stops, what do you say? Not exactly exciting. This is, yeah, not exciting. But there are, again, differences in methodology and how we do things, and a couple things that we both picked up on that a lot of other companies do not do. With Metal Cloak, in the rear bump stops, you actually thread them all together individually with wood screws, but you can offset them to the front of the vehicle. With Krawler, we give you a metal base that threads onto the bump stop pad, and then stackable pads that go on top of it that slide so you can ensure that it's striking the OEM bump stop pad. In the front, I mean, we're talking apples and apples here, direct comparison. We have stackable bump stops, they have stackable bump stops. Again, not exciting, just subtle differences in how we do things. We hope you enjoy this deep dive into the suspension and comparisons of the Metal Cloak Game Changer versus the Krawler Adventure X. You know, Metal Cloak, to give them props, they do a great job of marketing, and their website is fairly transparent when it comes to their products. With us, we try to be as transparent as possible, so you are getting an educated viewpoint on what you are actually purchasing and why. You know, there's other companies out there that will market and say, hey, our lower control arms are massive 2-inch OD. Well, they don't tell you that it's 2-inch OD thin-walled tubing with a welded bung so they can slap a joint in it. That's not what they're telling you, and that is something that you should be aware of. And as a consumer, you should be able to talk to the company to actually get the details of what you're putting in your vehicle. This is not only a big purchase for you and a large part of your build, but there are safety factors involved as well that you should be aware of. And again, we hope you enjoyed this, and if you'd like to see more of these, please let us know.